in the Metropolitan Detention Centre where Diddy Combs is being held. People have used words like heaven on earth and chaos to describe it. Music mogul Diddy Combs spent his first night in jail in a place that people are calling hell on earth. The Metropolitan Detention Centre in Brooklyn is famous for having terrible living conditions and a lot of crime. P. Diddy Combs has been in jail at the Metropolitan Detention Centre in Brooklyn for 5 weeks now. This harsh truth is very different from his previous lavish lifestyle, which included $48 million homes in Miami and Los Angeles. People have said that the Metropolitan Detention Centre is a horrible place because of all the violence and overcrowding. There is a lot at stake for Diddy, especially since old enemies like Suge Knight were making threats against him. It was said that Diddy didn't eat in jail because he was afraid of being poisoned, but things have changed. Will Diddy be able to get through this dangerous place? Or will the people who want to stop him be successful? Stay tuned as we talk about the latest news about Diddy's time in jail. Diddy Combs is still being held at the Metropolitan Detention Centre MDC in Brooklyn. He is getting ready for a third try to get out of jail, this time by requesting help from Judge Subramanian. His lawyers are very vocal about how dangerous the jail is. The jail is renowned for being very crowded and dangerous. Mark Neffo, Diddy's lawyer, has pointed out a number of serious problems with the facility, such as the fact that there isn't enough staff and there is a lot of violence. There are some scary figures that Neffo shared that show how bad things are. As of June, 2 prisoners had been killed at the MDC. At least 4 prisoners have sadly killed themselves in the last 3 years. Also, 6 employees have been charged with crimes in the last 5 years, which makes people worry about the facility's safety and management as a whole. When Diddy was first jailed, the National Institute of Corrections of the Department of Justice put him on suicide watch as a safety measure, which needs regular checks on prisoners who are thought to be suicidal. Meanwhile, Diddy is no longer on suicide watch, but he is still living in a guarded care unit and sharing a room with Sam Bankman-Fried. Bankman-Fried was found guilty of fraud and money laundering in November after his Bitcoin exchange, FTX, went bankrupt. He is also being held in this special area of the MDC. Prisoners who need extra security, like Diddy, are kept in this unit. Other prisoners who are cooperating with probes into open cases are also kept there. If you want to know more about Diddy's life in jail, you need to look into how bad his new home is. People often say that the MDC is disgusting and in bad shape, which is very different from the fancy homes he used to live in Miami and Los Angeles. The Bureau of Prisons built the Metropolitan Detention Centre in Brooklyn in the early 1990s. It has a bad reputation for having terrible conditions and a lot of violence. The building was originally meant to be a federal jail for people facing trial or serving short sentences. It now holds about 1,200 people, down from over 1,600 earlier this year. The MDC is located on the waterfront in Brooklyn and has a number of useful features, such as outdoor leisure areas, medical and dental units, an educational programs wing, and a library. But prisoners often talk about real problems like violence, not enough staff, and bringing illegal items into the prison, which are sometimes the fault of prison staff. There are many lockdowns every year, making it harder for visitors, phone calls, showers, and exercise for the prisoners. Recent events, including multiple deaths, have shown how bad the situation is inside the prison. For example, in June, a prisoner who was going to be tried on gun charges was fatally stabbed at the MDC. This brought attention to the fact that the facility is full of violence. After only 1 month, Edwin Cordo died in jail during a fight. Cordo's lawyer said the MDC was like hell on earth because it was so crowded, poorly staffed, and ignored. A severe power outage in January 2019 left MDC Brooklyn without heat or light for a week. This led to a lot of attention being paid to the jail. It was very cold in the Northeast this winter, and prisoners were supposedly locked in their cells for days without being able to use the toilet. There were real worries about the facility's ability to handle emergencies after this happened. In response, the Justice Department started a review to see if the Bureau of Prisons had good plans for what to do in case of an emergency. A lawsuit that was made on behalf of the prisoners showed even more disturbing details about the dirty and dangerous conditions they lived in during the outage. In a deal last summer, the Bureau of Prisons agreed to pay about $10 million to 1,600 inmates at MDC Brooklyn for the cold and cruel conditions they lived in during the 2019 power outage. There are more problems at MDC Brooklyn than just the power loss. In the past 5 years, at least 6 staff members have been charged with crimes, such as taking bribes and bringing drugs, cigarettes, and cell phones into the center without permission. People have also said bad things about how the jail handled problems with facilities and the COVID-19 pandemic. When the power went out in 2019, prisoners were left shivering in the cold, which caused trouble and made government officials very worried. As of March 2020, the first federal prisoner to test positive for COVID-19 was being held at MDC Brooklyn. Court papers from November of that year showed that the facility was only working with 55% of its staff, which put more stress on employees and made security problems worse. As long as judges and supporters say bad things about MDC Brooklyn's conditions, its cruel and dangerous practices will not go away. Because of the facility's bad image, some judges have started to shorten defendant sentences or even decide not to send them there at all. In January, Gustavo Chavez, who had been found guilty of drug crimes, was given bail and told he could stay out instead of being sent to MDC Brooklyn before his sentence. He said that the conditions in the jail were not appropriate. Judge Furman said that even the lawyers were no longer arguing about the problems at the facility. Similarly, in August, U.S. District Judge Gary Brown said he would reject a tax fraud sentence if it meant the person would be sent to MDC. He suggested they be locked up at home instead. There are still worries about the conditions at MDC Brooklyn, so the Bureau of Prisons said it would temporarily stop sending people who have been convicted there to serve their sentences. As of Tuesday, 43 people were doing their time in the jail's low-security unit. A Bureau representative stressed their dedication to keeping inmates safe by saying that safety rules are constantly reviewed and that necessary changes are made. The Bureau of Prisons set up an urgent action team earlier this year to deal with the many problems at MDC Brooklyn. In spite of these attempts, Diddy's lawyer Mark Agnifilo said in court that the facility's harsh conditions would make it harder for his client to prepare for trial. The Metropolitan was built in the 1990s to help New York City's jails deal with overcrowding. Its main purpose is to house inmates awaiting trial in Brooklyn and Manhattan federal courts. Michael Cohen, who used to be a prisoner at MDC, recently talked about how hard things are for Diddy there. He said the living space was squished and awkward and said Diddy wakes up in a tiny 8 by 1 foot cell on a steel bed with a thin mattress and no pillow. Cohen, who was locked up there in 2020, said that prisoners in the special housing room where Diddy is being held only have a 3 by 5 foot space to move around. He also said that in the beginning, prisoners didn't always have access to books or other comforts, which made Diddy's first few days in prison extra hard. After a string of scary events, especially after Jeffrey Epstein's death in 2019, the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan was shut down in 2021. The building had a bad name for having bad protection, not enough staff, and unsafe conditions that were getting worse all the time, like concrete falling apart and freezing temperatures. People who were locked up there were moved to MDC Brooklyn or Otisville Prison after it closed. Diddy Combs' lawyers have fought his pre-trial detention at MDC Brooklyn, pointing out that the prison is dangerous and that inmates have recently died there. A lot of judges and lawyers have said the same thing, and some have even decided not to send suspects there because of the problems that are still going on there. Because of these fears about safety, especially in light of Epstein's case, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams agreed that keeping all prisoners safe while they wait for their trials was very important. Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, has expressed specific worries about the SHU where his client is being held at MDC Brooklyn. Even though this unit offers better security, it can be hard to get ready for trial because of how small it is. Agnifilo asked to be sent to a jail in New Jersey, but the judge chose to let the Bureau of Prisons make that choice. And study by the Associated Press that is still going on has shown that the Bureau of Prisons has some big problems, revealing major issues such as prisoners escaping, ongoing violence, deaths, and critical staffing shortages that make it harder to respond to emergencies. These problems have shown up in a number of ways, such as inmate attacks and the failure to fix facilities that are having problems. On the other hand, the Bureau shut down the infamous Rape Club women's jail in Dublin, California in April after shocking reports of sexual abuse by staff. Because of this study, laws have been changed. In July, President Joe Biden signed a law that will make it easier to keep an eye on the Bureau of Prisons. As more information about Sean Diddy Combs comes out, it paints a worrying picture of his situation in jail right now. Insiders say that an unnamed prisoner has made threats against Diddy, which makes people very worried about his safety. NBC said that the conditions in the facility were like hell, which shows that Diddy is having a lot more problems than most famous people do. Since he was arrested, a complicated web of alleged crimes has come to light, which could reveal deep-seated secrets in the entertainment business. This background brings up a lot of questions. Who wants Diddy to be quiet? It's an idea. That his testimony could have an effect that could show weaknesses that many people would rather keep hidden. Insiders at the Metropolitan Detention Centre in Brooklyn have made a bleak picture of Sean Diddy Combs' current life there, saying it is a very dangerous place with violence, overcrowding, and terrible living conditions. This harsh truth is very different from the comfort he used to enjoy. Because Diddy is so famous, his time in such an infamous prison was always fraught with danger. Sharing the place with notorious prisoners like drug lord Ghislaine Maxwell makes his situation even more dangerous. Threats against his life are thought to have been caused by a number of things. First and foremost, people who are guilty of sexual crimes, especially those involving victims who are underage, often face a lot of hostility and shame from other prisoners. Because sex offenders are looked down upon in prison society in general, this can be harsh and even violent. Some of the worst people in jail are the sex offenders. People who have been guilty of sexual abuse are often harassed, abused, and violent by other prisoners. This is partly because of the types of crimes they have committed, which many prisoners and people in general think is especially horrible. So, people who commit sex crimes may be shunned or attacked, which is why some of them go to protective care to stay safe. The risks are even bigger in places with a lot of security. Other inmates often treat sexual criminals badly because they think they are not manly or because they are accused of sexual violence. This way of thinking can lead to physical and emotional abuse, making a scenario that is already dangerous even worse. For many, the effects of their crimes go far beyond the legal consequences. They have a big effect on their safety and health while they are in jail. Not only that, rumors are going around that Diddy has ties to the criminal underworld, which is a nightmare for him. His message to stay quiet may have come from someone with close ties to organized crime. The reason for this fear is easy to understand. Diddy has been a big name in the business for decades, getting information on some of the most powerful and important people in music and other fields. These aren't just small-time players, they are real people who have strong reasons to keep their lies hidden. The stakes keep going up for Diddy as the story plays out. The consequences could be terrible if he chooses to start talking. He is being accused of trafficking and racketeering, which are both very serious crimes. His arrest wasn't made without much thought. The federal government had been looking into him for months or even years and seemed to have built a strong case against him. 2 raids on his homes in Miami and Los Angeles are said to be where the proof came from. The indictment lists the things that were found during these searches, such as videos that he reportedly made of what he called freak-off sexual performances. Diddy's arrest wasn't a small event. Reports say he cooperated and even seemed to know what was going to happen because he went to New York before he was arrested. This shows that he may have known he was going to have legal problems, but he may have thought he could handle them. But it's clear that things have gotten out of hand, which makes people wonder what might happen if he chooses to tell them what he knows. Not only Diddy, but also a lot of people in the music business who are related to him have a lot at stake. It seems more likely that someone could get in touch with Diddy while he's in jail. It's not just that things are bad. The prison has a bad image for letting bad things happen behind closed doors and for not having enough staff. Running with only about half of the staff it needs makes for a dangerous atmosphere. When U.S. District Judge Robin Tarnasky denied Diddy's bail, she talked about these risks. She said that his violent past, connections, and large amount of money made him a major flight risk and a danger to the community. The judge's decision was based on worries that Diddy might try to stop the law from working or scare witnesses. For famous prisoners like him, the stakes are even higher, since he has a past of enemies and former friends. With the new events, Diddy's situation seems to be getting worse. It looks like people were right to be worried about his situation. Whether he was trying to help the police or not, his many connections with important people in the business and their possible illegal activities could reveal some very important secrets. Diddy was arrested after a long government investigation that involved hundreds of subpoenas, a lot of search warrants, and a huge amount of digital evidence being gathered. Federal officials have said that they have dozens of terabytes of data to work with, which suggests that this case is about a lot more than just Diddy. It includes a bigger group of people and tasks. Prosecutors say that Diddy's huge business company was really a front for dangerous businesses that abused, exploited, and scared people. When his ex-girlfriend Cassie sued him in late 2023, it was a big turning point in the case. Cassie said in her claim that she had been abused physically and emotionally for years. Even though the case was handled out of court, the accusations against Diddy got stronger, which made people pay more attention to what he did and who he knew in the music business. As the investigation goes on, the effects could go beyond Diddy and implicate other people in his group. There are even more worrying rumors that there were secret cameras at Diddy's famous parties, where high-profile people in the entertainment industry were caught doing inappropriate things. If these tapes exist, they might show why a lot of important people might want Diddy to be quiet. The information on those recordings could show how dangerous things are for him right now. Diddy is known for always going beyond what is expected of him and living an extravagant life. People talk about how fancy his houses are in Los Angeles and Miami, and how fancy his parties are on Star Island. Throughout his career, there have been rumors that he did some bad things with his money. Mood swings and relationships that are kept hidden. Now it looks like all of this might be getting to him. The fact that Diddy was charged in federal court shows how serious these accusations are. Attorneys for the prosecution say that he used his power to build a group of people who weren't just bystanders but actively helped him run his business. As the court cases go on, the effects of his past actions could show a much darker side of the entertainment business, bringing to light people who have been hiding for too long. As the chances of explosive leaks rise, Diddy faces both legal fights and threats to his life from people who are afraid of what he might say. Over the course of several months, things happened that led to his arrest. Federal agents searched his homes in Los Angeles and Miami earlier this year and took guns, electronics, and papers that could be used against him. They also took 3 AR-15 rifles with serial numbers that had been tampered with. This new development makes the charges against him even more serious. Diddy isn't just another famous person who got caught in an incident. He is at the center of a probe that could have a big effect on the whole entertainment business. The question that keeps coming up, what will people do to not talk to him? The story keeps getting stranger, and it's clear that Diddy's situation is much more dangerous than anyone thought at first. Even though a prison threat against him is shocking, it could be the beginning of a much more difficult mess. He is a good target because he is said to know damaging secrets and has been involved in many controversial events in the history of entertainment. Diddy has been a major player in the business for many years and has worked with some of the most important people in the world. Some people are afraid of people with that much power, though. He has been linked to some shady people over the years, straddling the line between fame and shame. This dangerous situation makes the threats he faces even stranger. The scary truth about Diddy's situation makes people wonder who would do anything to stop him. There are more eyes on him than ever before, and the stakes have never been higher. A lot of people think that Diddy didn't just get to the top because he was good at business or talented. He also supposedly had something more sinister working for him. Find out more. His rise in the music business has been followed by rumors for a long time about how he kept his power. There are rumors that he keeps secrets about the people close to him, secrets that could ruin lives if they got out. For years, people have said that Diddy secretly recorded everything that went on at his famous parties, rich parties with famous people, business leaders, and even politicians attending. These events, which were known for being extravagant and unpredictable, made it seem like anything could happen. He put secret cameras all over his properties so that no one would ever know about the crazy events that happened. Just imagine how much debt Diddy could have built up over the years. Not only could those recordings be bad for the people involved, but they could also be bad for their companies, marriages, and families. If these secrets were made public, they could change the lives of many important people, and make Diddy a big player in a game where information is the most valuable thing. A rumor says that Diddy used party video as pressure to keep his power, making sure that no one would dare go against him as long as he had dirt on everyone. This idea says that Diddy's business wasn't just based on music, but also on trickery and extortion. It's still not clear if these claims are true, but they've been around for years. People are more worried that all that proof that could be used against Diddy could end up in the hands of the police now that he is in jail. With this chance, a lot of people are on edge. It could be very bad if Diddy decides to work with the police and start telling them what he knows. We're talking about well-known people whose jobs are ruined and whose reputations are shattered. It's very important for people who have a past with Diddy. Many people might want to keep him quiet at all times, which is easy to understand. This isn't just about keeping their identities safe. It's about making it in a tough business where one mistake can mean disaster. The stress surrounding Diddy's case shows how weak relationships can be in the world of fame and money. Diddy has been in trouble for a long time and is often linked to some of the worst events in hip-hop history. His name has been linked to many deadly incidents, which has made many people wonder what role he really played. People still don't know what happened when Diddy's close friend and collaborator, the notorious B.I.G., was killed. Many people think that Diddy knows more about what happened than he has ever said, and some even think that he had something to do with the famous East Coast vs. West Coast feud that led to Biggie's tragic death. Even though none of these claims have been proven, Diddy's ability to stay out of the trouble has made people wonder how involved he really is. One event that stands out is when a fight in a bar turned into a gunfight in 1999, hurting several people. Even though Diddy was at the scene, he avoided major legal consequences, which made it seem like he has dangerous connections. People think that he has strong allies protecting him, or that he's the one controlling things from behind the scenes because of how well he avoids major consequences. There is a lot more to Diddy's ties to crime than just speculation. During his career, he has been in a lot of legal fights and been accused of assault. It's clear that this way of life is dangerous. It will always make friends, and Diddy has made his fair share. He has been able to deal with these problems up until now, but being locked up has changed everything. People he threatened or misled in the past may see this as their chance to get back at him. There is a good chance that the latest threat against him was made by someone who wants to get even from the past. Diddy's court problems don't seem to be going away anytime soon. A life sentence could be given to him if he is found guilty of the major racketeering conspiracy charges and other crimes. It looks like the federal government has a good case against him and is likely eager to work with anyone who is willing to help them. Many of Diddy's friends and business partners could be in big trouble if he decides to help. His involvement in illegal activities points to a much bigger group of people who may have been involved. There have been rumors for years that some of the biggest names in the entertainment business were involved in shady deals, secret agreements, and other unethical behavior. There are strong people who would want Diddy to keep quiet if he knows something that could bring any of these people to light. The stakes are especially high because of the entertainment execs who are said to be close with Diddy. If one important person falls, it could produce a domino effect that brings down many others. It's still not clear what will happen with Diddy. He's not only facing legal problems, but also personal grudges and threats that could put his life in danger from people who want to shut him up. He needs to be able to stay strong long enough to tell his side of the story. If not, the people who are trying to stop him will be successful. Let's look at Diddy's current situation, where everything is at stake. His bail has been turned down twice, so he will be in jail for 4 to 5 weeks. A big change from the life of wealth and comfort he's used to. As the action in court goes on, 2 judges have said they are worried about Diddy's large wealth. They were afraid he could easily get away since he had private jets and a large network. That's a good worry. After all, no judge wants to read about a famous person who escaped after being given bail in the news tomorrow. But while they talked, there was a thought that wouldn't go away. They should have been able to come up with a unique answer for someone like Diddy. Rich clients have sometimes come up with clever ways to handle similar situations. For example, they have used ankle monitors to avoid jail time while they waited for their trial. Why couldn't Diddy have a custom deal too? After all, keeping a famous prisoner costs the government a lot of money and isn't safe for the other prisoners. People would notice him, and it would be easy for them to go after him. In many ways, it looked like the judges were treating him the same as everyone else, even though they should have given him more attention because he was rich. It's not easy for the judges to be in this situation. They can't win, so they have to find a way to be fair while also being careful. They are the ones who would be blamed if something went wrong. Diddy is having a lot of legal problems right now, and his defense team has put together a bold bail plan. They asked for a $50 million bond, with limits on visits, especially contact with women, and a GPS monitor to keep track of where he is at all times. Even with this complicated offer, it was turned down twice. But there is a sign of hope on the horizon. The case has been given to a new judge. Could this judge be the one to finally let the bail go through? It's still possible, but the risks are higher now. The last judge thought he was likely to run away, and if something goes wrong after Diddy is freed, the new judge will be closely watched. Because Diddy is rich, things are even more complicated. The large bond amount shows how much money he has, but it also makes people wonder what he wants to do. He could always just leave town if he was afraid of a long prison term. The money is not important in this case. The real question is whether the court can be sure he won't disappear. Diddy, on the other hand, is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Centre in Brooklyn, which is known for having bad conditions. If bail is refused, his lawyers might ask that he be moved to a different jail. But making that case could backfire because it could make the court think he gets special treatment, which they might not like. To keep Diddy safe, the idea of putting him in with other people is not even an option. Prisoners who have nothing to lose could be very dangerous, and neither the judge nor the lawyer wants to be in charge of his safety. Because he could be sued if something goes wrong, it's clear why he stays in protective care. Diddy has always been able to find the perfect mix between being powerful and open, using his connections, influence, and rumored stash of secrets to stay at the top of his game. But it looks like he's losing control for the first time. It's not clear if he can get out of this mess. But one thing is for sure, whatever happens next will change the entertainment business for a long time. Everyone is very interested in Diddy to see if he will get through this problem unscathed or if all of his secrets will be revealed. Is this the beginning of Diddy's fall? Are there people who really want to hurt his reputation for their own gain? Or is this just another part of the crazy, unstable life of one of the most controversial people in music history? The answers to these questions could change the business world for years to come as the story plays out. Where do you think Diddy will go from here? Will he rise from the ashes, or is this the start of the end for him? Leave your thoughts in the box below. If you liked what you saw and want to know more about how this story is developing, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more analysis and insights.